So let's talk about the segment with DeMar DeRozan going on ESPN First Take and Stephen A. Smith claiming that if the Raptors had DeMar DeRozan in 2019, they still would have won the championship. Bruh, what are we doing here? The reality is simple. When it comes to Kawhi Leonard versus DeMar DeRozan, there is a stark difference. And what are those differences? Well, number one, Kawhi Leonard at the time was a top 5 player. DeMar DeRozan, probably a top 20 player. But when it comes to the playoffs, there was always a drop off of DeMar DeRozan because when he went up against LeBron James, what happened? He always got destroyed. Even in the 2018 playoffs, where LeBron James didn't have Kyrie Irving, the Raptors got swept. And at that point, you have to figure out, okay, should we keep DeMar DeRozan as the number one option? Also, remember this, DeMar DeRozan is a mid-range merchant. Not taking that away from him, but at the end of the day, if you can't shoot the three-point shot on a consistent basis, you're going to be easier to guard. Now, I'm not against DeMar DeRozan going on ESPN First Take and saying, of course we would win a championship. You got to have that confidence. But the reality is this, Kawhi Leonard, a two-way player who can score on offense and be elite on defense, there is no way that DeMar DeRozan was going to shut down Giannis after the Bucks went up 2-0 on that Raptors team. You can't convince me of that because if the Bucks had gone 2-0 on the Raptors with DeMar DeRozan on the team, they would have won that series, in my opinion. You have to understand when it comes to these two players, Kawhi Leonard is just on a different level than DeMar DeRozan. I don't think the Raptors even make it out of the second round because they would have played the Sixers, and Jimmy Butler being the closer that he is, he would have torched the Raptors. And I don't think DeMar DeRozan would have stopped the Sixers. They would have lost that series in 6 games, maybe in 5. Because the thing is this, that Raptors team was better when they had Kawhi Leonard. They went to a brand new level. Now, I do want to play a soundbite between DeMar DeRozan and Kawhi Leonard, and I'll give you more of my thoughts.
Having said that, I do have to ask you this, though, because I've been always tempted. I want to reveal this to Molly. I've said this in front of Molly before, not in front of Doggy. I want to know how you feel about this. One of the most painful moments in your career, I believe, I don't know, I never asked you this, was when you departed from Toronto because Masai brought in Kawhi Leonard. And I know they won the championship that year, but I've often said this. The kryptonite for the Toronto Raptors franchise at that particular moment in time was LeBron James because y'all kept running into LeBron James. The year he arrived, LeBron James went to L.A. Right. So my attitude is, had DeMar DeRozan stayed there, he'd have been a champion with the Toronto Raptors. How do you feel about that once you hear something like that?
Yeah, and never, to discredit those guys. I mean, they won it. They deserved it. I finally had got to a point to where, I was happy for them. But for sure, I definitely feel like that. The only person we couldn't beat was LeBron. That's just what it was. And I felt off the year we had before, we just needed one more piece to kind of push us over the top. And that piece came to be LeBron going to the West. And I didn't get an opportunity to see what would have happened. But the utmost confidence within myself, I have no doubt in my mind the same outcome would have happened.
Now, as you heard from Stephen A. Smith, he really believes that if DeMar DeRozan would have stayed with the Raptors, the same result would have happened.
Stay off the damn weed. And they don't listen.
There is no way that would have happened, in my opinion. Because at the end of the day, when you look at the talent between Kawhi and DeMar, it's not even close. And that's not a shot at DeMar DeRozan, but there's levels to this. And even with LeBron not in the Eastern Conference anymore, I don't see them getting past the Sixers. And even if they get past the Sixers, I don't think DeMar DeRozan can get the Raptors back into the series and win 4 in a row against the Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis there. I don't think he can shut down Giannis like Kawhi Leonard did. And even if the Raptors somehow made the finals, they're not beating Curry, Clay, and Draymond Green, even without KD, because of the mentality, what it takes to win a championship. There were just times where DeMar DeRozan didn't play up to expectations as a number one option. You could tell his mentality was shot against LeBron James and the Cavs. They kept losing over and over again, not just losing, getting embarrassed by them. And when Kawhi Leonard came to the Toronto Raptors, there was just a different feeling in the air for Toronto. When they got to the playoffs, they were just unbelievable. His impact on defense. We saw him shut down Giannis when they decided to put him on Giannis when they were down 2-0. We saw Kawhi Leonard go into Philly in Game 4 and get that W for Toronto. Is DeMar DeRozan doing the same thing? No, he is not. We saw Kawhi Leonard against the Warriors just make big shot after big shot. Kawhi Leonard averaged 30 in the playoffs during that run, 30 points. Did DeMar ever do that when he was on Toronto? No, he did not. Look, I appreciate DeMar's confidence, but that take from Stephen A. Smith and DeMar is straight up delusional in my opinion, because Kawhi Leonard was just on a different level. Now let's talk about Kawhi Leonard versus DeMar DeRozan in the playoffs, because this is not even close to me. Kawhi Leonard, after Tim Duncan wasn't on the roster and he retired, he averaged 27.7 points a game, 7.8 rebounds. His true shooting percentage was at 67%. Field goal percentage, 52%. He shot 45% from three. Go to the season where he won a championship with the Toronto Raptors. Remember, he's got to adjust to the team, learn the system, and go out there and win a championship. So he averages 30 points. He gets 9 rebounds. True shooting percentage, 62%. Three-point percentage, 38%. Field goal percentage, 49%. On top of that, he's guarding your best player. He's locking you down. Is DeMar DeRozan doing that? No, absolutely not. Now let's talk about DeMar DeRozan his last 2 seasons with the Toronto Raptors. He averaged 22 points. True shooting percentage was 53%. His three-point percentage, not that good, 6%. He's not a three-point shooter. His field goal percentage, 43%. And then let's go to the next season. His field goal percentage, around 43% again. True shooting percentage comes down to 51.1. Yes, he got almost 23 a night, but the assists and the rebounds is not even close. We go to the season where he was on San Antonio. He averaged 22 points, 6.7 rebounds, almost 5 assists. True shooting percentage, 55.7%. So he was better, and he shot almost 49% from the field. That was his best playoff run. This is not a conversation at all, because at the end of the day, there is a gap between Kawhi and DeMar DeRozan at that time in their careers. That's why Kawhi Leonard replaced DeMar DeRozan. I don't hate the confidence from DeMar, but at the end of the day, Kawhi Leonard is a much better number 1 option because he's better on defense. He's better on offense. The shooting percentage show it. The scoring output shows it. Playmaking, rebounding, all that. Kawhi Leonard has it over DeMar DeRozan. Not to say DeMar, again, is a bad player, but when you rely on the mid-range shot, and again, if you're not trying to match LeBron James or at least try and keep up with him and you get slaughtered in the playoffs, then how can we believe that you're going to turn things around when LeBron does leave? Because his roster in 2018 was not that good, and they got swept. Let's not act like when the Raptors traded DeMar for Kawhi Leonard that it wasn't a significant upgrade. Because at the end of the day, Kawhi Leonard was a top 5 player. He was probably the best two-way player at the time. And when you get a guy like that, of course, things are going to be better for your team. DeMar just wasn't on that level. He's great, but there are levels to this. And when it comes to tiers, you got to be objective. And there is a gap between Kawhi and DeMar when it comes to who is a better basketball player. Hope you guys enjoyed this video today. Do you guys think the Raptors still would have won the championship with DeMar DeRozan in 2019? Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.